murderous gang of anthropomorphic woodland creatures was after you, what would you do? The 100 Acre Wood has fallen on some hard times, and Pooh and his friends are out for revenge. In this video, we'll cover everything you should and shouldn't do if you want to beat Winnie-the-Pooh and escape the 100 Acre Wood. Stick around to the end to find out all the mistakes that got people done and how they could have been avoided. It all started many years ago when a young boy named Christopher Robbin befriended a group of strange humanoid animals he met in the woods. Christopher would visit his new friends Pooh, Owl, Rabbit, Eeyore, and Piglet for many years, bringing food with them to share each time he visited. All good things must come to an end, and as college approached, Christopher started visiting less and less. He eventually stopped visiting altogether and went off to college to become a doctor. This was bad news for his friends in the 100 Acre Wood, who would begin to starve without the food they had grown to depend on. Winter came, and the hunger got worse. Pushed to the brink, the animals would make the traumatic decision to kill and eat Eeyore. This would change them forever and instill in them a strong hatred for humanity. 5 years pass, and Christopher Robbin finally returns home after graduating college. He's accompanied by his fiancée, Mary, and the two set out on a journey to visit his friends in the 100 Acre Wood. Understandably, Mary was skeptical about the gang of talking animals Christopher has been telling her about for years. After some wandering around, the two would find the 100 Acre Wood was not the same place as Christopher remembered. The place was desolate and was definitely giving off some weird vibes. Mary noticed this and begged Christopher to turn back as it was getting dark. So let's stop and talk about all the mistakes these two have made so far. First off, taking a journey deep into the woods to see friends you abandoned for over 5 years without checking in may not have been the right idea. To make matters worse, it's clear that the two started their journey pretty close to nightfall, which would inevitably leave them wandering the woods at night. That's 2 big mistakes right off the bat, so let's see how this works out for them in the end. After dismissing Mary's concerns, Christopher, with a hesitant Mary, investigate further into the 100 Acre Wood. After wandering through what they believe was Pooh's old house, the two are suddenly startled by footsteps approaching. They hide as fast as they can as a menacing figure passes by. They camp out their hiding spot till nightfall and make a break for it, only to be caught by Piglet, who wraps a chain around Mary's neck and begins to strangle her. As Christopher bravely mustered the courage to call out to his old friend, a glimmer of hope flickered in the air. But oh, how quickly that hope was extinguished as Piglet heartlessly ended Mary's life right before Christopher's very eyes. Ah, what a lovely reunion it turned out to be. So let's talk about how this could have been avoided. Well, the most obvious way these two could have beaten Piglet here was to simply fight back. Instead of simply calling out to his old friend and begging him to stop. If he had jumped into action and tried to save his fiancée, she might have made it out alive. Seeing as how she couldn't depend on Christopher for help, there really wasn't much Mary could do while being choked out with the chains. One way that Mary could have avoided this fate is by shutting down Christopher's craziness from the start. Feeding into Christopher's talk about talking animals in the 100 Acre Wood is what got her in the situation to begin with. If she hadn't made that one mistake, well, this movie may not have even existed. Christopher wouldn't stick around to grieve her for long, as he hightailed it out of there as soon as he could. He wouldn't make it far before being cornered by a menacing Pooh and Piglet who drag him off and hold him captive. All this could have been avoided if Christopher had just been a better friend. Ghosting your friends is bad enough, but leaving them starving in the woods is pretty cold. Folks, don't ghost your friends and try to pop back up without checking in. It may not go how you think it will. Sometime later, a young woman named Maria is shown in a therapy session where the therapist suggests a camping trip might reduce her anxiety. Taking her advice, Maria and her friends set off to camp in none other than the infamous 100 Acre Woods. On the way to the cabin, one of Maria's friends, Tina, gets lost. After wandering off into the woods to get better cell phone service, she spots Pooh off in the distance. He gives chase, and she ducks off into a nearby abandoned garage. Thinking the coast is clear, she emerges from her hiding place, only to be grabbed by Pooh and shoved into a wood chipper. So, what could she have done to survive this situation? Well, her biggest mistake was running into an enclosed space to hide. She would have had a much better chance of getting away by running deeper into the woods. The rest of the girls arrive at the house they will be staying at, located right at the edge of Pooh's territory. It wouldn't be long before they drew the attention of the murderous woodland creatures and the killings begin. One night, one of the campers, Laura, was out in the hot tub enjoying a soak. She is startled by a noise coming from the woods behind her and gets out of the tub to check it out. Brushing it off as just an animal, which I guess you could argue it was, she goes back to snapping selfies and sipping wine. A few moments later, Pooh and Piglet approach and drag her off into the woods. Laura wakes up hogtied in the middle of the road, with Pooh sitting in a car a few feet away. With Piglet pinning her down, Pooh would drive over her head and crush her skull, leaving her under the car. There are a few things she could have done to avoid this grisly fate. Situational awareness could have been a shield against getting dragged off in the first place. After she heard the rustling while she was in the hot tub, some alarm bells should have gone off, and she should have gone back to the rest of the group. Once they had a hold of her, there was not much she could do. It wouldn't take long for the rest of the group to find Laura's body, who were soon attacked by Pooh and separated. This was the biggest and most crucial mistake this group of friends made. There is strength in numbers, so as soon as they got separated, it was game over. Having a place to regroup in case of this situation could have saved their lives. After being chased into the pool room with Alice, Zoe is knocked into the pool with Piglet approaching slowly. As soon as he reaches her, he lets his sledgehammer do the talking, and another victim is added to the list. So what could you have done to survive this? The biggest mistake Zoe made was getting knocked into the pool to begin with. Avoiding the pool at all costs should have been a priority, as pools are dangerous enough on their own. Once she had been knocked into the water, she could have dived to the bottom of the pool. This would have kept the blows from the sledgehammer from connecting with as much force, potentially saving her life. After killing Zoe, Piglet drags an unconscious Alice outside and meets back up with Pooh. The two head back into the 100 Acre Wood, where Maria and Jessica watch in horror. Deciding to try and rescue Alice, the two head into the woods. Genius. After reaching Pooh's treehouse, the girls free Alice and Christopher, as well as another hostage named Charlene. Charlene is understandably unhinged after her run-in with the 100 Acre Wood gang left her husband Daryl dead. Charlene really starts to lose it when she catches a glimpse of herself in a mirror. Seeing that Piglet has severely scarred her face, she snatches a gun out of one of the girls' hands and summons Piglet to kill him. Of course, this doesn't work out well for her, specifically because she made one fatal mistake. She never thought to check how many bullets she had in the gun. Once Piglet and Pooh arrived on the scene, the gun was empty and she was promptly devoured by Piglet. Up next on the chopping block is Piglet himself. After subduing Piglet from behind, Alice chains him up and beats him to death with his own sledgehammer. Unfortunately, this victory would be short-lived, as Pooh would soon appear and impaled Alice with a knife. Alice may have survived if she had run off after finishing off Piglet. Instead, she gave Pooh enough time to reach her after hearing his friend cry out in pain. Once Pooh reached her, it was too late, and only two of the unhappy campers were left. The two remaining girls, Maria and Jessica, run down the road and stop a car driven by some locals. These men assure the girls they can handle anything that might be causing trouble out in the woods. Well, as you can imagine, once Pooh showed up, he began to easily slaughter the men one by one. During the slaughter, Maria and Jessica hopped into the car and tried to escape. Pooh would prove to be too strong to run down, even in a car, causing Maria to crash into a tree and be knocked unconscious. As she woke up, she would see Pooh decapitating Jessica. Pooh then turns his attention to Maria. It seems like it was all over for Maria until a rescued Christopher Robbin appears and crushes Pooh with the car. In a race against time, the severely injured Christopher and Maria desperately tried to escape Pooh's clutches, but their wounds slowed them down, allowing Pooh to catch up. He seized Maria and pressed a knife against her throat, ready to end her life. Christopher, on the brink of despair, pleaded with Pooh, vowing eternal loyalty and begging for forgiveness in a desperate attempt to save both their lives. Christopher's unexpected words stirred something deep within Pooh, momentarily coaxing out his humanity. He reluctantly broke his vow of silence, whispering to Christopher, before mercilessly slitting Maria's throat, leaving her to bleed to death. In a rare display of intelligence, Christopher finally made the smartest decision he could muster throughout the entire movie. He fled. Oh, how I hope he doesn't return, but alas, knowing our beloved Christopher Robbin, he's probably already plotting his grand comeback, if there is a part 2. What would you have done differently if you were being chased by the murderous humanoid forest animals? Let us know down in the comments, and thanks for watching!